back to the channel. If you're new to Fortinet or been with Fortinet for a while, a new pop-up has come up recently on the new G series. It's called the Register with FortiCare pop-up. It essentially forces you to sign in and register the product before you can actually configure anything on the firewall. Now, the problem with this is a lot of times you need to configure the firewall with an IP address statically or even DHCP, maybe change the DNS in order to get out to Fortinet to actually register the device. So we have a classic chicken and egg scenario where users can't register the device because they can't get any kind of initial configuration on it to get an IP address to get out to the internet. So what I'm going to do is show you today how to actually do some CLI commands, get the management up or any other interface you need up and out to the internet so that you can actually get the device online, get it registered, so that you can then start configuring the firewall. All right, what I've got here is a 201E, which doesn't seem to be affected by the latest FortiCare prompt. However, the steps are going to be relatively the same. This is just a lab firewall that I have that I've factory defaulted so that I can run you through the steps of actually configure the management interface so we can get an IP address and get out to the internet. So initial login is admin, no password, and then we'll just give it a password of like Fortinet with a bang or something like that. Okay. So admin, no password, and then your new password when it prompts you, that'll get you in. Um, and then from here, we'll actually be able to configure we're going to use the management interface. Now you could use a WAN interface or something like that, and the steps are going to be relatively the same um, with some slight modifications. So config system interface to actually get into the CLI of the management. Now, if we do a quick show, you'll see that the IP address is the standard 192.168.1.99, which you may have gotten if you plugged in directly. Now, if you're plugging this into a production out-of-band management, you're going to want to change this before plugging it in to your out-of-band management because it does have a DHCP server on it, and we wouldn't want that to like issue out any IP addresses. Okay, so make your changes first, and then plug it in to the out-of-band management. We'll do a quick edit, and you can tab through a lot of this stuff of the management interface. I'm going to set IP of 192.168.40.230 /24, which is the IP I'm going to have on the management interface. And I believe that one is free on my network. So you can also set it for DHCP, but we're going to manually set it in this demonstration here. That will remove the DHCP server stuff that's on there as well. As you can see, it's actually not bound to the interface itself. It's in a separate area. But if you go to view it in the GUI, you'll actually see the DHCP settings there. So we're going to set that for the management interface. We'll do a quick show to see it. Now, the changes do not actually take effect until you say next or end. Okay, so if you're going to configure a different interface, then you can say next, and that'll put you still in that config system interface, or you can say end. That'll take you back, and at that point in time, the changes are effective, right? Prior to that, you're like, hey, I may not be able to ping this. Well, you need to type next or end, and then you should be able to ping it. Now, another issue you may have is if you're on a different subnet, you're not going to be able to ping it because it doesn't have a route. Okay, so what we're trying to do is just get this thing basically going out to the internet so that we can configure it later. So we're just going to configure a static route, router static. Okay, And we're going to say edit. And we'll do a quick show real fast to see that there's nothing there. But if there were a lot of routes there, you could just do a simple edit 0, and it'll pick the next one. It actually will not pick 0. It will add the next feature, which or the next available number, which should be 1. And then we'll say set gateway 182.168.40.1. Now this next part here is slightly confusing because, in my opinion, it should say interface, not device. So if anyone from Fortinet's listening, maybe you should change that to set interface because you're setting the interface. I don't know why they say device, but and we're going to set that device out to the management. So it should be set interface in my opinion, but it's actually set device. Maybe there's a reason for it. I'm not sure. But we'll set the device, which is actually the interface of the management interface. Now, we could set a destination, but if we don't, it's going to interpret it as all zeros. And I'm going to say next, just so that we can actually stay in that and do a quick show afterwards. And you'll see that, hey, the destination is set to all zeros. That means that it's essentially a default gateway. And we have the gateway 192.168.40.1. And we've set the device to the interface to the management interface. Now I'll pause the video here. I'll go ahead and plug it in, and then we'll run some ping test to try to get out. All right, we went ahead and plugged that in. You have to make sure your interface is actually on the switch, is configured appropriately as well. And let's do a quick ping. We have to say execute first, then ping, and then 8.8.8.8. And as you can see, we can get out to the internet now. Now, the other important thing we want to do is be able to ping and make sure DNS works. So we'll say google.com. You could say Fortinet if you really want to go ping Fortinet to make sure it's resolving the FortiGuard stuff. And make sure that works. Now, I was at a client site recently, ran into an issue where they couldn't get out either, and it was because they were using some kind of DNS filtering, whether they be Umbrella or Lightspeed or something like that, or maybe you're filtering the DNS servers. Now, by default, Fortinet actually uses their own DNS servers, and they do not run it over your typical 53. So if you're, maybe you have a rule in your firewall allowing DNS out, it's not going to use 53. I forget what the actual port it is, but we're going to change it to something internal, which is what I had to do for this particular client, where we had to set a DNS so that it used one of theirs, and we had to change it to use 53 versus its standard port. So set primary, and we're going to say 192.168.40.1, which is my lab DNS server, and set protocol clear text. And that will then make it use the standard protocol of 53, UDP 53. So, and we'll go back and actually test DNS again. Keep ping. Now, one other issue that I've kind of come across as well is the device was already registered. So it gives you the pop-up here saying that, hey, you've already pre-registered it. Let's say you've pre-registered the device. It pops up, you try to register it, and then it fails. And it says, hey, I'm not going to be able to register this because I've already registered it once. It's already registered. right? But it still won't let you log in. Well, it actually has to go out for a while to update, pull that down, and get registered. Now, you could probably just wait it out, and it would eventually, you know, uh, you know, resolve or register, and you'd be able to configure it. Or you can say execute. I think it's update now, and that will force it to go out and register. So if you've already pre-registered the device, it's, you try to go in and register, it says, oh, it's already been registered, and you still can't get in, go ahead and hit the execute update now. That'll speed the process up, get it registered, and then you should be able to get on. And then get past that. Once you get past that and you have your IP address on it and everything, you should be able to go to the GUI itself. And we're going to go to 192.168.40.230. And at that point in time, you'll be able to log in and start configuring. Right. Hopefully this helps for you and get you past that so that you can actually get into the GUI and start configuring everything. Until next time, give me a like and subscribe if you want to. Um, and let me know if you found a different way to get in or bypass that in the comments. Thank you.